Ronnie Floyd is a leader of leaders with a vision to change the world. The 4 Leaders podcast with Ronnie Floyd is committed to investing, inspiring, and influencing your life and leadership today. With a legacy of investing in thousands and thousands of leaders throughout the years who've led in multiple arenas of leadership. Now is the time, and today is the day for Ronnie Floyd to invest, inspire, and influence you in a serious and responsible way. So spread the news and share the 4 Leaders podcast with others around the world. Now, here's your host, Ronnie Floyd.
Welcome to episode 31. We're going to talk today about a very important subject: how to motivate people. Have you ever considered the challenge of motivating other people? So many times we see that everyone else needs to be motivated, when in reality, each of us need to be motivated in life. So on this episode, I'm going to talk about this subject. This is a subject that I believe you could share with your teams, your organization, people in your church, leaders everywhere, because each of us need to learn and understand how to motivate people more effectively. I can assure you that if we had 100 of us in a room, we could all learn from one another. If we had some of the best leaders, or some of the youngest leaders, or some of the worst leaders in any time or place, and we had a conversation about it, I can assure you each of us could learn from one another. Let me ask you this question today. Did you know that momentum is usually created on a team, in an organization, in a business, or a church, because the players that comprise these and involved in these are motivated to do so? In other words, if there is an organization or a team, you take whatever it may be, if they are being productive and they are successful in reaching their goals, their ultimate mission, let me say to you, that does not happen without the people within it being motivated by someone or something along the way. I am deeply convinced that each of us need to be motivated. I was thinking about this recently, and I wrote down and asked this question: do you ever need anyone to motivate, excite you, or stir you up to be more in the future than you are where you are today? Of course, I can assure you, each of us needs this from time to time. No one escapes this challenge and this reality. I am aware constantly of my own need to be stirred up, to become fired up, to become excited by, or motivated by what I hear others say and do. When I go for a run in the morning, many times I am listening to people pour into my life. Oh, sometimes it's fun, and I'm listening to some college football thing that will just inform me about what's happening. But most of the time, it's a leadership talk, or it's a message or a sermon that someone brought along the way that I want to listen to and I want to learn from and grow from. This past weekend, I did that upon 2 occasions. And quite honestly, I was highly motivated to become better for God because of listening to several of my friends speak in a recent gathering in the state of Florida. You see, what I want us to understand today, each of us needs to be motivated. Each of us need other people to motivate us, and we need to be about motivating other people. In fact, when I really look at it and I think about it, I think about the relational value of motivating one another and the importance of that. You see, we need to be motivated to live right, to work right, and to do right, because this helps us to bring significant value to other people, or to an organization, or to a team, or to a business, or to a church. Because you see, everyone needs to be motivated. Everyone needs to be stirred up. Everyone needs to become better at what we do. The old school of thought in business and the world and teams, and whether it be sports, athletics, whether it be someone who is over us in an organizational chart, the old school of thought believed that motivation occurred like this. You were threatened. If you don't do your job, I will. If you don't shape up, you're going to be shipped out. Or the leader or the coach or someone would yell at you. And that was the old way to motivate others. Others by poking you, constantly making fun of you if you don't do it the right way, if you do not line up and get yourself in the right attitude or the right way. That's the old school of thought, that that's going to motivate someone to be better. Or the whole element of intimidation, which is really all of these things, intimidating someone. It's an authority figure, whoever is above you in this situation, or has ultimate leadership responsibility, trying to help you become more what you need to be. They are threatened, or they are intimidating you to do so. And then, of course, others think that it motivates people when they are condemning the people that are not getting it done, putting others down. Well, I think we know in today's world that if that was ever motivating to others, and I really don't think it ultimately was, even though we think at times that's the way it used to be. That's why I called it an old school of thought. Each of these are not motivational at all. In fact, they demotivate us. They take the life out of us. They make us want to give up rather than to give all we have. You see, it does not inspire us to greatness. It does not inspire us to significance. It does not inspire us to bring greater productivity because someone yells at us or threatens us or pokes fun at us or intimidates us or condemns us or puts us down. None of those things help anyone be better. I am convinced, because I believe teams and people and organizations and businesses, churches, and anyone or anything else, they need to understand what I call the value of relational values. You see, when we talk about relational values, and I mentioned this before, relational values move us to interact with others, with other people in the right way. If we are in a relationship and you are a friend, or if it would be my wife and I, we have to relate to one another every day. You see, relational values should move us to interact with other people in the right way. Now, whether it is in regard to your walk with Christ, or your marriage, or your productivity on the job, or your family, or somewhere at work, or even with a team, each of us is usually motivated by someone or something that is remarkable and significant. In other words, our lives are impacted by other people, and these are good things to happen. We need our lives impacted by other people. I'm reminded of a scripture that I have thought through over the last even several days. It's found in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24. It says, and I quote, "Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works." In other words, we need to think about ways, the scripture says, that will motivate one another to do acts of love and good works. Let's do that today. I've given some time and some thought to this, and I want to share with you 3 ways that I believe you can motivate people. And by no means are these the only 3 ways. I'm trying to think of you not only in your own personal life, not only with a small group you might be a part of, or perhaps you lead a major organization, or maybe you're the coach of a team, maybe you're a player on the team, maybe you're someone out here that just wants to learn about leadership and how to motivate other people. I want to tell you, you're never going to be able to accomplish all that God has created you to be unless you know how to inspire other people, how to impact them, and to motivate them to be all that God has created them to be. I'm so thankful for people in my life through the years and still who love me enough and care for me enough to tell me and motivate me and impact me and help me along life's way. I can assure you, it doesn't matter whether you're in your 20s, whether you're in your 60s, whether in your 30s, or you're in your 80s. People need to be motivated. And one of the ways we can motivate one another is to do some things that I'm talking about here today. I want to give you 3 ways, and I'm trying to keep this in the context of your own life, as I said, or a family, or within a small organization, a large organization, or even a team, or whatever it may be, whether it be a church, a business, out in the marketplace, wherever it is. I'm trying to keep all of this in context for us today. I want to build it on this first word, and the word is identify. I want to encourage you to, first of all, identify people in your organization who motivate other people to be more productive in their lives. If you have an organization with 20 employees, I can assure you there's at least one, and there will be more than one, especially if you're successful, at least one of those people who bring great motivation to other people to be more productive in their lives. You can't sit around and be negative and more negative and think that's going to motivate anyone to do anything. I want to say to all of us, the more negative we have in our ears, the less productive we will be. That's why we need to identify people within our organization that has unique gifts to motivate other people to be more productive in their lives. Who are those people? You might have an organization with 20. You might have an organization with 5,000. You might have 150 employees, or you might have 3. Doesn't matter how many you have, whether they're volunteers, whether they're employees, whether they're stakeholders, they're a part of the organization and the life of the organization and the future of the organization. There are people within that organization you need to identify who motivate everyone else to be greater than they would be if that person were not there. So the first word is identify. The second way you can motivate others is to highlight. That's the key word, highlight. What do I mean when I say highlight? I'm talking about highlighting specific ways they accomplish this and let them tell their story to everyone. Once you have identified those persons within the organization who motivate other people to be more productive in their lives, highlight the specific ways they accomplish this, and then let them tell their story to everyone. In other words, you pull them aside. You say, hey, how did you get that done? And let them tell you what they did. And then let them have the voice into the ears of people, into the hearts of people, to inspire everyone with the story. How do they motivate other people? And let them tell what happened. And tell a story about what happened. Usually, projects are happening, or perhaps if you have an organization that serves others, and someone comes and, they talk about how great the organization is, or they talk about what it means to them. Well, somebody has motivated that. Find out who that is. Identify that person. Let them tell you what happened, and then let them tell the story to the entire organization, to all the stakeholders, to the church, to the employees, to whoever is relevant. You have to make it relevant for whatever is going on and whoever you're trying to help along the way. I have found in life that the bigger the staff team you have, the more you need to have them motivated. Because staff members at times, and even leaders of those staff teams, can become negative. They can be negatively influenced by others, by each other, or by just the situation itself. That's why we need to identify and lift up and highlight those specific ways where someone is motivated. There's nothing, listen carefully, there is nothing more motivating than listening to someone tell the story of how something good happened through what they did. And tell people why they did it and how they did it. So let them tell their story. So the first word is identify. Identify people in your organization who motivate other people to be more productive in their lives. And then highlight the ways, the specific ways that they accomplish this, and then let them tell their story to everyone. And then the third way you can motivate others is discuss this together. Discuss it. What do I mean discuss it? In other words, with your next meeting or in your next meeting with your staff or your volunteers, divide up into smaller groups, perhaps groups of 4, and brainstorm ways together that would excite, stir up, and motivate everyone in the organization. In other words, have them come up with ways we believe that we can excite people and motivate people and stir people up. Perhaps that motivation could be financial. Perhaps that motivational could be the changing of lives, which is the best thing to ever motivate us to go forward. Money comes and goes. But listen, when people's lives are affected, and impacted, whether it be for a season or eternally, I want to tell you that is the greatest motivation anyone can ever hear. Somebody does something to bring a marriage back together, to redeem a child back to being in that family, to helping someone through a sickness or an illness or through something going on tragic in their life, for them to be able to smile again after they've lost a loved one. I could go on and on and on, but listen, there's nothing more powerful than the power of life change. But what would it be? What would excite the people within your organization? What would excite the people and stir them up and motivate them to be better? You see, I think in those kind of meetings that you have, perhaps with volunteers or with part of your staff team or all of your staff team or all together, however it would be, I believe it's important that then you give one person in each group the opportunity to tell all in the room what you've learned together. In other words, we discussed as a team, how could we stir people up? Let us tell you, there are 3 ways. 1, 2, 3. Real quick. A 1-minute testimony, a 1-minute confession of what that would be. Listen, you write those down, you're going to have some great ideas on how to stir up and excite others and motivate people in the organization. You know, as we move to conclusion today, here's what I want you to grab a hold of. When we motivate others, we can create momentum, or we can sustain momentum that has been created already. You know, have you ever noticed, perhaps even since we're in the middle of football season, I'll use this illustration, how a football team can get on a motivating moment in a game, and it seems like things were filled with no hope, and then all of a sudden a turnover happens, or something happens that's good, and all of a sudden the momentum of the entire game shifts. I mean, that's what happens in an organization. That's what happens in a family. That's what happens on a team. That's what happens in competition. That's what happens in business. And quite honestly, it even happens in church. That's why we need to inspire one another and excite one another and stir one another up to good works, to be more productive. And one of the things that does that is when we create that momentum by doing that, or we sustain the momentum within the organization when we do it. And you know, one of my final thoughts is this, and I have a couple of others, but nothing does this greater than you telling the story. Give time for people to tell the story. There are great stories happening in whatever area of life that you're a part of. Let people tell their story. Staff will be motivated by them. Volunteers will be motivated. Stakeholders will be motivated. And listen, donors will be motivated. When you tell them stories of life change, stories where all of a sudden something happens, and because of someone doing the right thing and relating to someone, it changes the game. It moves things forward in ways like they would have never imagined before. You see, I also believe that motivating one another will lead us to get the job done more effectively and more productively. I promise you, I need that in my life. I need to be motivated. I need to get the job done more effectively and more productively. And the more motivated I am to do it, the better it is. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you're singular, whether you're together, whether it's a family, whether it's a business, whether it's a team, whether it's a church, whether it's an organization, whatever it may be, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, students, listen carefully today. You can get the job done better, more productive, and more effective when you are excited about it, stirred up about it, and motivated by it. That's why a small win can create a bigger win. You talk about your wins, you talk about your losses, you talk about what you've learned through a win or a loss, and use that to motivate you to move forward in whatever you do. You see, my prayer today for all of us is this: God, would you empower us to motivate other people to live for you more effectively and to work for you more productively. That's important. You see, we need to live right, we need to work right, and we need to do right. Live right personally, live right within our families, live right in this Christless culture, and do right. And be productive and be excited about life. You know, I realize life can throw you some curveballs. You can find yourself on the sideline real quick. But I can assure you, nothing will lift you up and nothing will change you and motivate you any more than seeing good things happen and hearing about good things happening. There's nothing more stirring than a story about how someone's life, their family, their business, their financials, whatever it may be, has been turned upside down, and how a team won it all because they were motivated to do it. I challenge you today, you get around people that will motivate you. You stay away from those that deplenish you in your life, and you go find people who will replenish you and help you be everything you need to be. How to motivate people. Every person needs to be motivated. And that's why I hope that you will share this podcast with the people that you know, and that you will even retweet it for us, share it on Facebook, share it on whatever you do in social media, and encourage people to follow us, whether it be on YouTube. You can go to @Ronnie Floyd on Twitter, on X, and find out more about us. And I hope that you will share this with other people. Have a great day. Have a wonderful week. And you do your best to motivate the people around you this week.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information on Ronnie Floyd, go to 4leaders.com. We'll see you next time.